So I had this situation happen yesterday. I was recording an episode of my show, Me and Myself and Di, and I had bought a backup microphone system, a Rode Wireless Go 2. Have you seen these? A lot of YouTubers.
Little boxes?
Yeah, the little things you clip on there.
Yeah.
So they're okay. I got a little Sennheiser lav mic, which is infinitely superior to these. But I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to Gen Con, the big gaming convention, in a couple of weeks, and I wanted a proper lav system I could use with my phone, because I don't want to bring a whole rig with me to this thing, right? I just want to...
Yes.
So I thought, this will be great, because you can plug it right into the phone, you can control it from there. But I thought, well, while I'm shooting this episode of my show, I'm gonna test it as a backup. So I put my lav on, and I put this other thing on, and I did the whole thing, an hour and a half, 2 hours recording this thing, all improvised, of course. And I upload the audio, and I realize that the Sennheiser lav is now unusable because the interference from the other wireless mic caused a...
No.
Yeah, the whole thing. So I have the audio from the backup mic, but it was way down here, because I'd never used it before, so I didn't know you had to really have it click. It's really designed for T-shirts, it's way up here, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, so I had it way down here. So I had to send the file to James Arnold Taylor, and say, help me. And he was actually able to sort of, make it sound a little better. But, it was so annoying. 2 hours of audio basically down the toilet because I didn't properly think, of course, it's a wireless thing. It might interfere with the frequencies. You don't think of that.
So which mic was picking it up?
The Sennheiser was picking it up.
The Sennheiser.
Yeah. So what are you going to do, man? They work fine on their own. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't rely on them to do anything on my channel, but they'll be great for like I said, doing a quick interview at Gen Con. Hey, clip this on. Hey, I was tracking away. Doing that stuff. That'll be fine.
And where is this Gen Con of what you speak?
Indianapolis, which I've never been to. I've never been to Indianapolis. And I've never been to Gen Con. That's a big thing. This is the biggest gaming convention in the world. It's been going on since the 70s.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, since the very birth of the whole gaming thing. So, it's kind of cool. First time. Bucket list!
So, you are going there on your own, or...
I'm going there as an invited guest of a games company. Basically,
nice.
I help them out with a Kickstarter by interviewing them and demonstrating the product on my show.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we'll take you to Gen Con and pay you to be there. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be fun.
And is that a board gaming company?
No, they do some board games, but it's mostly a role-playing game company.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So, the elephant in the room.
Uh-huh.
The strike.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot we're kind of on strike. We are not really on strike.
I know. Isn't it funny? I probably, like you, I actually just had a conversation with my agent about this yesterday. The messaging, the initial messaging on the whole strike thing indicated to me, a relatively reasonably sort of informed actor that, well, we're all going on strike.
Yeah.
And that was kind of on purpose. They really didn't want to, the union, didn't really want to communicate that, well, there's all these other things that are kind of carved out of this issue. And you can still work on that stuff.
It was confusing because they sent the email or the message or whatever to us that specifically said, here's all the things you can't do, voiceover. And I thought, oh, well, I guess that's it for us. But what they were talking about is like looping or ADR.
Features.
The features and TV shows
and ADR,
and stuff.
Exactly.
So,
all of our agreements, which have all the same and more problems that the movie and TV agreements have regarding streaming and sharing and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That all of those are carved out, and we still do what we do. But it's coming up.
I was going to say, our agreement is coming up to its expiration date, so we're just going to be going over this whole same ground. So hopefully these guys figure it out before our expiry date comes up, so we can just say, "Oh, okay,
Exactly.
well, we'll do what they do." And do you know when that is? When is the?
I do not know. I do not know. I know that we were just speaking in vague terms. It's coming up. It's coming up. So yeah, it'll be very interesting. And for Ken, those out there who are listening and going, what is this all about? The big issue that faces all of us is the whole movie industry and TV industry has changed. And yes, people are now able to go to theaters and pay the ticket, and that's the traditional system of monetizing, and they track it, and then an actor gets paid, based on blah 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 blah. But with streaming, there are no reruns. Everything is just there, and it was a closed box. Like and I would love to do a little forensic history on this, because I don't know enough about who was negotiating agreements to this quote unquote new media.
Oh yeah, right.
Like, isn't that a great term?
Yeah.
New media.
New media, yeah.
Like Hulu and Netflix. That's new media in our contract. Wow, really? And I think at the time it was sort of like, well, I don't know. I guess people are going to click on stuff and watch it on their computer, maybe a little. There's no advertising on that, though. It's just,
we can't make money on that, so
No.
no residuals. Come on.
Yeah,
low
so
rates.
and how are you going to figure it out anyway? Okay, well, we'll just make it a flat rate kind of thing, and we don't see a dime. Like, nothing.
That's not exactly true. There are what they call the reuse fees from the streaming stuff. They're nothing compared to like the residuals from cable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I was oversimplifying.
yeah, because that confused me too. I mean, I thought, oh, so we get nothing, but that's not exactly true. There is some, but it's got to be a pretty big show.
Oh yeah,
probably the biggest show that I do on streaming is F is for Family, which of course has been over for a couple of years now.
Yes.
And, I got some reuse fees for that, which is, it's nice to have. I wouldn't exactly call it, great or anything, but it was something, which I didn't expect.
Yes.
I didn't expect to get anything, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that and the whole AI thing, I don't know a lot about. I have a feeling, and I probably shouldn't say this as a member of the union, but I have a feeling that the AI thing is more catastrophism than anything. I don't think that the problems that the writers have are dismissed, right? Like, there is a legitimate concern there, but I think that the fear that AI is going to take all of our jobs is probably overhyped.
Yeah, I think using that sentence, correct.
Yeah.
It's not going to take all of our jobs. It will, however. I mean, this is something that I kind of rant on about, especially with our writer brethren, is I go back to the 2000s, where every broadcaster, every movie company was depending more and more and more on analytics and numbers, and so the rise of the sequel happens, right? I mean, that started in the 90s, but still, sequel after sequel after sequel, because this is proven. So if we do another one of those, it proved that it was popular and people will go and see it, and people do go and see it. And again, another one of my rants, the whole superhero movie TV universe, that, I mean, there is a lot of appetite for it. But if you go by analytics alone and you're not truly creating new ideas and new creative, AI can write that.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Like, I mean, if you're going to be brutally honest and go, okay, is Spider-Man, okay, AI, here's all the things in Spider-Man.
Right.
Beedly, beedly, beedly,
So
beedly, beed.
I think you're totally right, and this is what comes of having an industry that is so scared to try new things.
Yes,
that
we did it to ourselves.
We did it to ourselves, and I don't like to put myself in that camp because I was always advocating against the remake. I was always advocating against the formula. I was always saying, try something new, try something new. But of course, Hollywood is increasingly allergic to the idea of something new. But now they're going to have no choice because not only has AI caught up with us and is just going to continuously regurgitate the same old, but the audiences are already tired of the same old. There is a big reason why people aren't going back to the theaters, and very little of it has to do with COVID. Most of it has to do with the fact that Hollywood is staffed by hacks right now. There are so many entry-level writers, I guess, that do not understand story structure, that do not understand character. They don't understand any of that stuff. And so you get this preponderance of new media that is garbage, and it's borderline unwatchable in a lot of cases. And so what happens? You get Joe America going, I'm tired of seeing this garbage, so I'm gonna cancel my subscription to Netflix and Hulu. All of a sudden, the corporations go, what? But money but what? And I've been predicting this since 2016. Like this
I agree with all of that, but except for this, I wonder if Joe America cares.
Joe America does not care about the union. He doesn't care about actors or writers. What he cares about is when I get home from a hard day at work, I want to turn on something that's going to be entertaining to me. That's what Joe America cares about. And if Joe America is constantly being bombarded by garbage that does not speak to him, or it's not even about speaking to him. We've become so obsessed with this idea of everything has to speak to, and we have to see ourselves on screen. No, what we need is solid stories and characters that we can empathize with and get behind. That's all anybody ever cares about in the end, right? This is, since the beginning of storytelling, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years ago, since we gathered around campfires in the cave, it's always been about the compelling narrative, about the characters and about the story structure. It's always been about that. And as soon as you replace that with formula and the same old trite things, that's when AI comes in and says, I can do that, no problem.
Yeah. And again, I agree with all of that, but I will liken it to our food system. Like if you have as creatives, we have a certain appetite for good story and characters and all the things you just talked about. And similarly, in decades past, we had an appetite in our actual food, and you went, oh, that's what a piece of bread tastes like. But then gradually the corporatization, if that's a word, of, the food supply makes that what started out as a white loaf of bread that, grandma used to bake in the oven on the farm, and it got weirder and weirder and cheaper and more chemicals and more, hey, we can do this at a factory level, and if we remove this, that, and change that to this, and the piece of bread then that everyone now goes, oh, that's a normal piece of bread. But if you compared it to another piece of bread from, like a farm that was actually grain, and you go, why is it so sweet?
Right.
Or why does it? But gradually, and I'm talking about like the general Joe American goes, well, I don't know what that other one tasted like anyway.
Well, okay.
So this is now normal. So in the same way, I'm wondering about if this appetite that I know you and I like want to be there, but I wonder if, and to use another example, if the populace and the consumers for entertainment have been so inundated by process, like foods, they don't even know anymore.
I'm sort of two minds about that, because I recognize that concern. When you continuously feed people pablum, then that's what they come to expect, and then they basically dumb their own senses down in order to assume that is the norm, and that becomes baseline, and then the entire culture basically collapses in on itself because it's made entirely of garbage. However, people are smarter than they know when it comes to what a story is. This has been so ingrained in every culture, in every society since the beginning of spoken language that I mean, we've talked about this before, I think, at one point. Someone can go to a movie, let's say, and they know nothing about writing, they know nothing about acting, they know nothing about the film industry whatsoever. But what they know is, I don't buy that.
Yeah,
I don't think
agree.
That character doesn't. I don't buy it. I didn't like it. Can you tell us why you didn't like it, sir?
No.
It didn't make sense. That's it. But what they're saying is, in our lingo, yeah, the midpoint in Act 2 didn't work. The Act 3 was weak. They're not going to use those terms, but that's what they're saying. I think that, and especially Western societies, we are so well versed in what a story is without even knowing it, that when you watch a lot of new stuff that's coming out now that is no good, Joe America knows it's no good. He can't tell you why. He can tell you it's no good and he's sick of seeing it, so he cuts his subscription. You know what I mean?
I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right.
I will say that. I hope you're right. But I do. I wonder. I just wonder.
I mean,
I don't know.
the Luddites of the world would say, well, this is great because it means that people are going to go back to reading and playing outside. I don't think that's going to happen.
No. We're way past that. But like every industry in the creative field, it's the same set of arguments. I mean, music. You can push a button and make quote unquote music.
Right.
And the only thing that will change this is the other, we're talking about the same thing. It is people speaking with their checkbook or their bank card. Because if they just go, no, I've had enough of that. But I really wonder if people will ever go, well, there's nothing else, so I'm going to watch I don't know.
No, they won't. You know what? The music example is an excellent sort of testament to this because it's. I have an example that from my own past that I think speaks to exactly the humanity of art. Okay, which AI is very impressive, but without the kernel of humanity there, which is intrinsic to an audience knows whether something has a soul or not. When I was in early days of university, I was dating this girl. She was a professional pianist. She was like a concert pianist. She was unbelievable. She could do the whole
pianist.
Yes,
so
pianist. Yes, she played the piano.
I got it.
But she did the whole Mozart thing, like playing upside down and stuff, all that stuff. But she was incredibly technically proficient. You could put any piece of classical music in front of her, and she would be able to play it perfectly. And I would listen to her play, and I would think, "Where's the soul?" And she would say, "What do you mean?" And I would say, "Look, you're hitting every note perfectly, but it's dead." It's
you
dead.
said this to her?
The relationship didn't last, but but I said to her, "Where is you in this music?"
Oh, well, that's nicer.
Where is you? I want to hear you in this piece. And she did not understand what that meant because it had been drilled into her head since she was a little girl that it's all about precision of. She was basically the AI in this situation. She was the machine saying, "But here are all the elements. I've put all the elements together. Why isn't that good enough?"
I have played all the
you?"
notes. I have played them in the correct order.
Exactly.
With the right timings. What's not to like?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I know exactly of what you speak because, as you know, I was raised in, I always say the music business, but people immediately think, my dad was Reuben Kincaid on the Partridge Family making music. No, we sold musical instruments. We were merchants. But I was surrounded by, the music industry. So we had many recitals and had very competent teachers. And it's all part of the music biz. And, oh, man, from a very young age, I realized exactly what you're describing there with people who are accomplished piano players at a young age, medium age, whatever. And there was just wow, you're playing all those notes, but whoo, there is something missing. Another example of this, perfect, actually in my own family, my son Philip, I forget just how old he was, but stop me if I've told you this story. We were at a recital.
Stop.
And, what? No, don't stop me. It hurts my feelings. I prefer people to just nod and go, oh, this story again. Okay, all right. Anyway, he was, let's say he was 10. And we had forced the kids into, like, one thing you're going to do is you're going to take piano lessons because it's going to help you in all sorts of phases of your life and, all the way to piano theory. And we had a Royal Conservatory for all the Canadian piano and music heads out there. Goal of you're going to make it to Royal Conservatory grade 10 or whatever the line in the sand was. Anyway, so he's at this recital and he decides he's going to play the Hockey Night in Canada theme. And, every Canadian knows this.
Patriot right there, totally.
But basically, it's a rousing sports theme for the most part. And it's like da 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 da. And then in the middle, whoever wrote this thing, must have been an interesting guy because right in the middle it starts swinging and it goes da 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 da, and then it goes back into. So Philip had heard this theme 100 times, 1,000,000 times in our house because it's the theme to Hockey Night in Canada. But he gets the sheet music and he's playing it. And then when it comes to that swingy part, little Philip starts trying to make it swing. And his teacher's head exploded. Like, what? It's not written like that. Look, in the and he's going, but my ear and the thing, and I'm here. Oh,
yeah.
And he had just a crushing lesson in exactly what we're talking about, where you go, there's the words on the page, or there's the notes on the page, and then there's the feeling.
Yeah.
And if it's not got that,
yeah.
Eesh.
And this is why, I do think that with regards to the AI thing, yes, it will become a quote-unquote threat to large aspects of our industry as the AI moves gradually and inevitably from the uncanny valley, where it still exists.
Yeah.
It still exists in the uncanny valley, but it will not exist there forever. At some point, it's going to move out of that. It's going to be uncomfortably human, or rather comfortably human, I should say, because right now it's uncomfortably human, but it's going to become comfortably human. And at that point, okay, then we have a problem. But I don't think that point is coming. In video games and in animation, they've talked about the uncanny valley for 25 years, where they couldn't get the eyes right. It's always about the eyes and all this animation and all these computer graphics, and it's still all about the eyes. We are still in the uncanny valley, and this has been 25 years of constantly evolving technology, and we still can't get the human soul right because it's the human soul.
Well, let's get into the human soul. I don't think you can get that right any other way than giving it over to our Lord and Savior, Trevor Duvall.
You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the innate humanity.
Oh, okay. No, now I get it. I'm sorry. I thought we were talking bigger. So I think there are those two things. Well, actually, sorry. One of them we talked about, the writers being concerned about AI. And the problem is, for a lot of AI, it will be, the AI will look after a lot of crap writing. It really will. So that's an existential threat. The other thing, and I'm quite sure you and I have talked about this on this podcast before, is in our world, dubbing.
Right.
Like, if there was ever a part of the industry that could go completely AI, it's that.
Oh, yeah. Today.
punch, click, 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 words, fit, done.
Yep. Pick a voice. Pick a voice from the machine, from the algorithm.
Yep.
And match the timing, and away you go. I mean, I was listening to some old dubbing I had done 20 years ago, and I'm listening to that going, wow, that sounds really disjointed, like a computer did it.
Yeah,
It's our own
exactly.
performances.
And that is why it'll work. And the sad thing is, a lot of that dubbing work is not covered by any union agreement anyway.
Right.
So companies are completely free and completely within their rights to go, well, let's just get the old the old IBM fired up and shoot her in there.
When we were doing, it was one of the Lego Star Wars things. This is a few years ago. This was right after The Last Jedi came out, and I remember I was doing a session with Matt Wood, is that his name? He's the head of Lucasfilm sound. He's the head sound designer for Lucasfilm.
Oh, wow.
And he also played this character in this show. So we got talking about stuff, and this was, as I said, right after Last Jedi, or no, not Last Jedi, the other one, the Forgotten Skywalker, the Rise of Palpatine, Rise of Skywalker, that one. And the one where Carrie Fisher had died, and they needed to bring her back, right, for a few scenes. So he was describing how they did that. He was describing how they pieced together pieces of her voice and then had an actress come in to read her lines in a voice match, and then the computer took over and basically took the actress's lines with the inflections, matched Carrie Fisher's actual words from the dialogue library they had, and created a new performance out of it. And of course, it sounds exactly like her when you watch the show. And I remember Matt was saying this in the green room, or the waiting room as we were waiting to go in the studio. And everybody was enthralled and saying, oh, wow, that's so cool. And all I could think was, you've just described the end of our careers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they can, and this is one of the, can you say cruxes? Anyway, this is one of the big deals about this dispute, is if you can get hired for a job and they go, well, we own all those words now, thank you.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
Because they can then mine it and,
forever,
do what you just described.
Right.
So can't do that.
And I don't know if that's been addressed in the union list of demands or whatever. I don't know if that's on the table, but certainly for us, it better be. Otherwise, there's no point talking. That's everything. That's the ball game right there.
Yeah. Well, and then just back to the history of our agreements, it would be very interesting to see. I mean, I don't have the time. I guess I don't even have the inclination. But I would love to know that when new media first popped up in a union negotiation, and how they just completely missed the boat on it, like completely, because it's been decades. A decade for sure, of us just going, holy cow. Getting booked on an animated series ain't like getting booked on an animated series when there was, networks and commercials, and it's totally different ballgame. So, for anyone who is getting news from sources that are saying, oh, these rich Hollywood actors complaining about, it just could not be further from the truth. I mean, the big names, the big stars, they're not impacted by this at all.
No.
So, I mean, they and rightly so, they should be completely supporting it because they were all us at some point. Right. So we're it's real. It's really real. And thank goodness that the nanny, Fran Drescher, isn't that awful? That's like completely disrespectful. But I thought that speech she gave in the room, I'm sure that you've been in at the SAG headquarters in LA, was phenomenal. Like I don't know if she said rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, but I know that's been a term that people have used, and that's what we've been doing for 10 years in these agreements where, well, let's see if we can just eke out a little cost of living thing. Right. And you go, no, streaming is not sharing anything. And it used to be, when an actor, not guys like us, but, I guess it was in the realm of possibility. Like if you got onto a sitcom and you did a certain number of episodes, you would have a huge party because that means there's enough episodes to go into quote unquote syndication,
Right.
which means, every little station here and there is going to run that and you're going to get a little check. And all those little checks add up to, hey, my career's worth something.
Yeah.
That's my retirement, or I can live off it because I'm not working now,
Yeah.
or whatever. And that just gonzo.
Yeah, like I came to the wonderful world of residuals when I moved to LA in 2013 because, of course, in Vancouver, there were no residuals. We had that taken away from us long before I started doing voice work.
Yep.
And, they gave us the buyout instead, which I thought, oh, this is great. We get more up front. Well, yeah, that's good. It is good. But I can say now, after receiving 10 years of residuals, that I was saying to my wife just the other day that a lot of people have 401ks. I have residuals.
Yep.
That's my retirement. Yep. That's the thing that keeps me going. And that's the thing that I know is going to protect my financial future when I can't work anymore, God forbid, or it just becomes time to not work anymore, retire, whatever. That's it. That's my retirement plan. And I got in at residuals right at the tail end, because residuals basically are a thing of the past now, basically. Because
I agree.
I can count on one finger the amount of network shows that I've done in the past few years.
Yep.
And thank God they're still around. Like I'm on the new Spidey Kids show, which is great. I'm the Zola, the big villain for season 2, which has been great. And that's a big, like, that's still a network thing. So that's tidy. But that's one. I do not remember the last time that happened. Like,
right.
So I came into this residual world right as it was ending. And that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, I've never had it, ever. In Vancouver, when we were working up there, I was there at the inception of the rogue union, UBCP, which stands for Union of British Columbia Performers, because we were fighting with ACTRA,
right.
the main Canadian union. And, not to get into the weeds too much, but basically it was about, I guess it was representation. I mean, we had this union in Toronto that was actively trying to shepherd projects out of Vancouver so that they could be done in Toronto in voiceover. So when we formed that union, the idea of a buyout was floated. And I fought it right from the beginning. Like I said, there should not be. It started with a 5-year buyout, I believe, and then the common buyout was 10 years, and then it became in perpetuity.
Right.
Because this is what happens. It's a slippery slope. It's the same thing with streaming, right? You go, look, this stuff lives on. Like, even if you think it's a crappy animated show, it's gonna live somewhere.
Yeah.
And I used to sit in union meetings and go, how would Lucille Ball feel if she went, well, you own it forever. It was sure fun doing it, and I made a nice living for that year.
Right.
But nothing else. So essentially, I've never had residuals. You would get that buyout. Now, on the subject of the buyout, for all you people who care, who are listening, this is getting really kind of technical. But there is an argument, because I've tried to from the beginning, I was trying to talk to colleagues in the U.S. and going, okay, so if you've got like an average show that has a lifespan, and it wasn't a big hit, it's not SpongeBob, but it's just, an animated series that kind of came and went. Do you have any idea, like even with the residuals, sort of what your net was on those? Well, I could never get a straight answer on that. I asked everyone who remotely could answer it. No one could.
Yeah.
Just because maybe it's the nature of the type of people we are. It's like, oh, that's gone. I don't know what it was. I'm sure the numbers are somewhere. But I even tried to talk to agents and, people who track this stuff, and I could never get an answer. So, as I said, there is an argument for the buyout because a lot of stuff we do goes nowhere. And you go, well, I got paid, for perpetuity, which was basically double what your session fee was or whatever it was. And then nothing ever again, not a penny more, and don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But that was the deal. And it's not like someone was trying to rip you off. That was what they negotiated. And I think in the end, the net might be similar, except for shows that go and go
Right.
and go. And if you're lucky enough to be on one of those, like a SpongeBob.
Right. Or one of the many Disney princess shows. That was one of the first things I did was Elena of Avalor, I think, which is a Disney princess show. It's one of the first things I did in LA. I still get pretty chunky residual checks from that episode 10 years ago.
Wow.
Because it's a kids show that just keeps getting watched and broadcast. So you're totally right, man. Like, I did very well in Vancouver with the buyout system. I did very well. Very, very well. No complaints.
Yep.
But we were doing shows that I knew no one would ever hear about again, Dragon Booster that was one of my first big shows. It was great. We did, I think, 2 seasons, and then it's dead. And then, 10 years later, I get an email from a fan. Hey, I saw Dragon Booster, really good, like it.
Your fans don't sound like that. Don't do that.
I know. It's just
they sound
it's just me.
Dragon Booster. I'm now in the legal profession, and I loved it.
It was quality programming.
Yes, that's what our fans, our
I'm a big
legacy
fan.
fans.
Big fan.
Yes.
Big fan.
Actually, on a similar note, I had a situation in my life just a few years ago where I heard a guy interviewed on a podcast, and he had this really cool occupation, and it was something that I thought I could use this guy's expertise. And I reached out to him on Twitter, thinking I'm not gonna connect with him, and he wrote back immediately. And he goes, "Is this Ian James Corlett, the voice actor?" Yes. And this was all through Twitter. Yes, it is. And like this guy was, I won't even get into the industry that he's in, but it's like, he was kind of like a forensic spy kind of guy. And he goes, "Did you voice Mega Man in the original TV series?" I said, "Yes." "Let's get on the phone right now." I went, "What? What?" So this is a real professional dude, like lettered, whose favorite show was Mega Man.
Right.
So.
Oh, I know. I tease the fans all the time. Some of my biggest fans, thank God, have been border guards.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. If you can pull out a classic, they go, "Oh, right on. Okay, you go ahead. You're all right." Except they put you on a watch list anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
But they got entertained for 30 seconds.
Anyway, what were we saying? What the hell were we talking about?
Before you started belittling your fans, you mean?
Wasn't. I love them. Imitation and flattery and all that rot.
I know. I love imitation. That's like our stock and trade.
It's what we do, man. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought we were on strike, and we're kind of. So I get this booking request last week, and it was, "Hey, there's work for you. Are you comfortable work?" And I was like, "What? I'm working? How is that possible?" And they said, "Well, as it turns out, animation's under a different contract, but we understand if you don't want to work, if you want to support the union." And I was like, if the union says I'm good to go, I'm good to go.
Exactly.
I'm not at liberty to be able to turn down work out of.
Yes. Exactly. If we were Tom Cruise or what, you can pick and choose.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to do that this week.
Yeah.
No. it was nice that they asked, I guess.
I
maybe?
guess, yeah. But I didn't even know. Like I wasn't even sure if the union was striking or not. I haven't been following it. I've just got my head down, living my life, doing my thing, and yeah, it turns out.
Well, I was watching, and thank goodness there was someone who did the odd graphic saying, if you're a voice actor, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. And then there was a little bit of language like what you just talked about, where if you choose not to, it's okay to. But yeah.
And isn't UBCP's, the Canadian Union, isn't their contract coming up too? Because I've got a bunch of emails that I just immediately delete, but it's emails from the union saying, hey, this, and America's doing this, and what do you think in this and this?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, gone are the days where Ian was involved heavily in the union and union negotiations in BC.
Yeah.
Because I got so frustrated with, talk about rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. You're trying, you got some weaselly lawyer on the other side whose sole purpose is just to, gouge. We're going to take away everything, and then you're going to have to negotiate it back. And you go, what the? No, I don't think that's how this works. But anyway, here's an example. I stopped. I just stopped because I went, okay, I've done my time. Like our good friend Sam, who was deeply involved for a long time, you do your shift. And I went, even though it sounds like I'm guilty about it, because I do the same thing as you now. It's like, whatever. Just let me know when it's done, because I just got worn out. But this one, you will know about this. They had this thing where the Canadian contract, the BC contract, was you would get hired as a principal performer. So a performer that had more than 10 lines, and there was a certain rate scale for that. And then if you did an additional character, if it was a certain amount of lines, you would get an extra little pay for that additional character, which is different in the States. In the SAG contract, they get 2 characters out of you anyway. So, different stroke for a different folk. But so then gradually that got whittled down, and there was always this incidental character category.
Right.
And it was under a certain number of lines, literally
3
2.
lines or something. Yeah, two lines.
Like man in background going, hey, and then stop that.
Yeah.
That's an incidental character. It's incidental, as the definition would suggest. But then, slowly, weaselly producers started going, well, if your character in this episode only has 2 lines, it's an incidental character. And I went, no, because it's a reoccurring character that just happens to not have a lot of lines. So if you want to write it out, that's up to you, but you should get paid for that character. Oh my Lord, I still don't think they have clawed that back. And that has easily been a decade.
Right. Yeah.
Probably 15 years. And I'm so disappointed in, can't see the forest for the trees, and not to diminish the blood, sweat, and tears that our negotiators, when Sam was doing his time. Every time I would bring this up, there would be kind of a, I don't know if we can, really? Really? These are dictionary definitions. Incidental, not reoccurring.
Yes, not instrumental to the plot. Who just doesn't say much this episode.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah. But I forgot all about that Vancouver pay structure because it's been so long since I've worked up there. Oh God! But now you're talking about this, it all comes back to me.
Yeah, and it could get kind of frustrating. I mean, there was things that we did get written out. You know what? I think it was part of the contract. You'll remember this. Let's tell stories of the casting for a series at the head. That would be the beginning of a recording session. So imagine yourself,
God.
listeners, there's a cast and you're doing an animated series, and there's a character coming up, maybe in that episode, usually in that episode, who's a guest. And the frugal producers, they tried to do this on my show, Being Ian, for any of you who can find that anywhere on the internet. Anyway, where they would go, well, we're having a recording session. Let's just cast for that guest at the beginning of the episode, and whoever gets it can stay.
Right. If the episode starts recording at 9 a.m., 3 guys show up at the studio at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah.
to do their Walk of Shame audition.
Yeah, and 1 stays, and 2
do
have
the
to
Walk
go,
of Shame. Yeah.
see you guys. It was kind of nice knowing you, but obviously I didn't make the cut.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, just yes, I'm tooting my own horn. In my series, Being Ian, I said we're not doing that. We can hold an audition at the end of a session for the next one,
Right.
but we're not doing that.
Right.
I will not put. But that speaks to a culture and an attitude that. And I don't know if the people perpetuating this actually understand that they are demeaning people, the actors that come in, that they are hurting people.
Yeah.
And if they do have the cognitive awareness that this is what they're doing to actors, then, ooh, shame on them. Like, that's, you got some big problems. Like, I like it. You didn't make it.
Yeah, it really did contribute to this culture of like battered actor syndrome.
Yeah, you should be thankful you're even working.
That's right.
And that is a very Canadian attitude.
Yes,
you
it
got to
sure
admit.
is. It sure is. All of those
You
people out
should
there
be-
who think that Canadians are very polite and everything's great. No, Canadians. I told this when you and I and Kari Walgren did that thing at that SAG. Remember we did the speech?
What a
or
wonderful night that was.
Yeah.
It was good. That was
And
great.
I talked about the crab bucket, about how Canadian actors in the crab bucket. And people said, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, in parts of Canada, East Coast mostly, you've got there's fishermen. They go out and they get the crabs and they put them in the bucket. Now they're all alive, and all the crabs are in the bucket, and they know they're going to be boiled and eaten. One of them decides to make a break for it, and it goes and it gets its claw on the edge of the bucket. It's going to pull itself out, and the other crabs, they grab him and they yank him back down as if to say, "Where do you think you're going?" That's Canada. That's the Canadian actor right there.
Yep. Get down here with the rest of us and just be thankful you're not dead.
That's right. Oh, you think you can go to the States, eh? Well, we'll see about that.
Oh, dear. I forgot your crab bucket story. It's a good one. Yeah, it's Japan's got their own version of it. The nail that sticks up gets hammered down, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Britain has a very similar kind of actor. I mean, not everything that comes out of Britain is Downton Abbey. I mean, there's a lot of like mediocre stuff, just like any other production place. But what Britain is very good at is getting their actors to be able to play anything. Like, I'm not just a comic actor.
Right.
I'm not just a handsome lead. Very few handsome leads, actually, which is another reason why I like so much British TV. Is like, oh, look at these odd-looking actors.
Look at these
How did that happen?
everyday ugly people on screen, just like me.
Instead of the American way of like, hey, is there some way we could get the modeling community to memorize lines? Because that would be perfect. Because that's kind of what I feel we have for the most part in
Hey, talk
North
about
American
representation
television.
matters, man. Got to see the uglies up there.
That's right. That's right. Represent the homely average people. Yeah.
I just want to turn on TV and see me represented. I want to see me represented on the screen.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that's noble of you. Finally, we're talking about issues that matter.
Finally.
Two middle-aged white men.
It's about time. It's about time we talked about something. And it has been a while. It's been weeks since we...
Oh, I know. I apologize to all our ardent listeners. I was sick. I went to Europe. I was the problem. The wheels fell off.
It's fine. Nobody listens anyway. It's fine. Nobody's
That's
out
true.
there.
Well,
We're
whoever
screaming
is
into the
out there
void.
listening, we love you. We love you so much. And this is probably likely going to be our first audio
I think
podcast?
so, because we did the audio thing with Sam because we couldn't make the video work. And it's so much easier just to do
Yeah.
audio with the, if we had tens of thousands of people every week clamoring for a YouTube video, that'd be one thing. But we don't. And hey, we're voice guys.
Yeah.
We're about the microphone, not about the camera.
And if you clamor, we'll do it.
Yeah, sure. We have the technology. We've proven that.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
I think that's it, too.
All right.
We'll talk again, and maybe we won't be on strike anymore.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Even
No,
though
they're going to starve us out.
I think so.
Smoke us out of the holes, eh?
That's right. Jeez, these actors.
Yeah,
get
you
them out
can't
of those
make your
houses.
rent payment, you'll come crawling back, eh? Why do I paint the American producers as hosers? It's like, wow. Hit the handbook, Ian. Jeez.
And on that deeply racist note,
No, you know what? Canadian hosers are they're impervious to any of that kind of
that is
cultural.
true.
They don't give a crap, right?
Oh, jeez.
I hope.
I can always hear the Canadian YouTubers now instantly. Instantly. I hear those words. Just going out to the house. Oh, Toronto
Yeah.
boy. All right.
And on that Toronto dig, I bid you all farewell.
Farewell. Until next time.
Bye.